Well, good afternoon, everybody. Once again, it is 12:30 on a Friday afternoon, and that means it's the People to People Market and Employment Update here live on Facebook and on YouTube. So thanks again for joining us. I'm in Sydney today, and it is a fabulous winter's day outside, but I've got to say it's really quite cold out there at the moment. And I actually noticed that it is colder when in Sydney right now than it is in Melbourne, which I think was interesting. Actually, Jaden, I think we've actually got a slide here where I've got from the Bureau of Meteorology. Check that out. Sydney 15.4 degrees, Melbourne 16.2 degrees. Then again, Adelaide's 15.2, and my God, Perth, what's going on over there? 12.7 degrees. Thank God we don't have an office in Canberra or Hobart at the moment. So yeah, so it's a cold winter's day, but it's fabulous and sunny out there at the moment. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, what I'll do is I'll give you an overview of the market conditions and jobs last week in my regular market update. We'll talk through the numbers, our regular numbers section, and quite a few stats came out this week from SEEK and from the ABS. We'll join Julie Lazinski for an update on Western Sydney market. Jade Evans from our Sydney team will be presenting a couple of opportunities this week, specifically in customer service. And we've got a job hunting tip for the more mature job hunter out there from Manda Milling, one of our founders here at People to People. Finally, I'll give you an update on our upcoming events. And if you have any questions during the broadcast today, then please make sure you pop them in the comments box, either on YouTube if you're there or on Facebook. We can see them live and we can answer your questions as we go along. Okay, so let's get into it, and let's start with my regular market wrap. Okay, well, the anecdotes this week from the People-to-People offices around the country have been generally positive this week, although we're coming from a low base, and I know I say that every week. Interestingly, law firms seem to be coming back. We took multiple roles here in Sydney for legal support positions, which I thought was very interesting, and now seems to be coming into line with other downturns where the legal sector seems to be holding up better than other sectors out there. But I think that's in line with firms returning to the office now. The only state I'd say that that's not happening in right now would be Victoria. All others seem to be coming back online. Our friends across the ditch at the moment in New Zealand, we were expecting a bounce in Auckland as the level 1 restrictions were put in place. We were gearing up for that really, but there's been a bit of a dead cat bounce there. So it's really quite quiet in the sectors that we operate in. I have heard anecdotally that IT is holding up though in New Zealand at the moment. Government roles have also been unusually quiet in New Zealand. We're a preferred supplier to the New Zealand government, as we are to Queensland and New South Wales. And in all of those states where we thought, and counterintuitively, that we would be getting more government work as the government pump primed or were trying to assist the economy in that way, that certainly hasn't been the case. We haven't seen an increase in the amount of contract work come through for any of those government clients for us as well. So in summary, I'd pretty much say that we're still bumping along the bottom of the market right now, but we do have some goodish numbers that have come through from SEEK. So we'll get to that in our numbers section. So why don't we go there right now and start talking about the numbers that were released this week. So the numbers this week, let me start with the bad news, I think is where we really should go. And that is the unemployment numbers from the ABS. And Jaden, if you could pop up that table for me. These are the actual statistics that have come through there. You can see that our unemployment rate has increased. And the, I suppose the important thing here, and I wanted to mention, is that that overall, what we're seeing is underemployment increasing, but the unemployment rate not as increasing as quickly as those people who are exiting the workforce. The participation rate this time round is now as low as it has been for 20 years. So people are exiting the workforce. So we're seeing the unemployment rates rise, but we're not seeing the participation rate drop. If we were, and with the assistance of JobKeeper, and if we saw all of those people who were leaving the workforce, if they were actually coming in, we would have an unemployment rate of 11%. So the numbers are pretty tragic when it comes to our unemployment, but there's a little bit of a hidden message, and I would encourage everybody, publicly available information, to go to the ABS, and you can see this information there, and you can view it at your own leisure. So let's move on then to some more positive news, and it won't look when I ask Jayden to put it up on the screen now. This first slide that we get from Seek suggests that it doesn't look like it's that good, and this is really the Seek applications, that are being received per job. So you can see some arrows that we've put there, which is the labour market is easing when these rise, and the labour market is tightening, so the ability to secure talent. And you can see that since 2019 and now in 2020, the applications per job have skyrocketed. So you can see the blue line is the trend, the pink line is the absolute number. So on average now, every advertisement that's being run on Seek is getting approximately 275 applications, which is pretty remarkable. We can move to the next slide, Jayden. Yes, so this here is the applications per ad in each individual state. So the reason I wanted to show this is to see the variation between states, and you can see that the increase in New South Wales and Victoria are particularly profound. So the effect of the COVID crisis and the unemployment that's persisting now in the marketplace is being felt more in New South Wales and Victoria, and you can see that in WA and Queensland, that although the numbers have increased in WA, it's not proportionately as large as we were seeing in Victoria and New South Wales. Queensland comes in third place. So the question I have as we progress through this downturn is, are the mining states going to be more resilient? Let's go to the next slide, Jayden. Yes, now this is by industry. So these are the decreases by industry here. And what you'll see at the top there is that community services has decreased by the smallest amount. And I know it's hard to read, people, so my apologies there. But you can see that the year-on-year change is largest for advertising, arts and media. And I don't think there's any surprise there. Marketing, communications, and also human resources and recruitment. And not good news for our particular consultants. And at the other end of the scale, you've got mining and resources, farming and healthcare, and government and defence, which all are not surprising there, and they are the most up-to-date numbers from Seek. If we can move to the next slide, Jayden. Oh, I think we've actually seen this one already, which is applications per ad in Australia. So let's move on now. So what we should do now is actually have a spotlight on one of the markets that people to people have really felt that we thought it would be, well, it's been a real bright spot for us over the last few years, but it seems to be affected by the COVID. But let's find out for sure by talking to Julie from our Western Sydney market. Let's join her now.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. I'm a bit cold, to be honest.
It is a bit chilly. It looks lovely, but it's freezing.
It's. I'm sure it's cold in Western Sydney. Absolutely. So let's find out what's happening in the Western Sydney market right now.
So as you identified before, we're still very much at the bottom of the curve, although we are over the last particularly week to 2 weeks starting to see an increase in hiring activity, which is good news, and mainly around temporary requirements. So like through the GFC, as we experienced, as businesses, are returning, they're analysing what their needs look like, but obviously there are gaps that they need to fill. So they will, obviously require some temporary assistance. In business support, we're anticipating an increase in salespeople as businesses, again, are trying to rebuild. the guys in supply chain and operations have seen the increase in demand planners and also warehousing, particularly in the medical devices space, and accounting and finance are the transactional roles. So overall, we've got a long way to go, but there's certainly some positivity there, which is great.
Yeah. What about is there any particular industries? I can see here that Mimo online has said that she was affected by redundancy prior to COVID.
Right.
And she's very keen to get a job. Is there, if there's particular industries that she could possibly focus on if she was based in Western Sydney, where you're seeing there's better opportunity?
Absolutely. And through the pandemic and even sort of now, we saw an increase in businesses perform well that are in that air conditioning, electrical wholesale space, also building products and civil construction. So medical devices took a hit for a while because of the operations were ceased, but now they're being reinstated. So we're starting to see an increased demand there, which is good news.
Yeah, I think I saw that on the news this week, which was that the elective surgery is now coming back big time.
They're back.
So I'm sure
Absolutely.
that everybody who's, although you might think, well, okay, it's just the doctors and nurses who are going to be busy, there's also the supply chain that affects that. I know that those medical device companies do respond to that for sure. Okay, so if people wanted to get in touch with you, oh, actually, let me ask you this question. What about, is there anything that's really surprising right now? So what's really caught you by surprise in Western Sydney during all of this?
There's been a few things, but I think an industry, it's quite a double-edged. So an industry that I anticipated to perform well is that logistics arena. But then, as you said, the flow-on effect from that. So a lot of logistics organisations that I was talking to that had clients in the retail space were impacted quite heavily. But freight forwarding, when they moved from sea to air, have really, really come out strong when they thought this year, given the pandemic, they weren't going to perform at all.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, I didn't. There's certainly the unforeseen impacts of this crisis. For sure. So if people do want some further advice or they'd like to they get in touch with you, how would they do that, Julie?
Okay, so they can contact me on 8270 9771. Or my email address is julie@people2people.com.au.
Okay, we'll make sure that we'll pop Julie's profile details into the comments for everybody. So if you'd like to learn more about the Western Sydney market, or if you have any questions directly for Julie, please feel free, as Mimo and I think David and other Sidhu and others who have put comments in already, please feel free to pop comments in Facebook and in YouTube, and we can see those live. Okay, so let's now move to Jade Evans, who is our customer service specialist in Sydney, because she has a couple of opportunities that we'd like to find out more about. G'day, Jade.
Hello, hi. Oh, it feels close. Hi.
So I think you were on here. You're like a media glutton, aren't you? Weren't you on here a couple of weeks?
2 weeks ago. Yeah. Feedback is that I need to smile more, so I'm going to smile more on this one.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's. We've got something to smile about because you've got a couple of opportunities you'd like to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working with a financial services company at the moment. So they're quite a large organisation. Within their customer service team, so their inbound call centre. So I have filled a position already. There's 2 other positions that are available, and we are anticipating potentially there's going to be more opportunity within that team. So to give you an overview of the role, it's taking mostly inbound calls from their customer base and advising on different financial services and products that they supply. So the call center is open from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. So you would need to be available for like a 7.5 hour shift in between those times. It is a full-time permanent position, and they do give you plenty of notice of what kind of shifts you're going to be working.
And it's on site. It's on site. Yeah, it's not off site.
It is on site. Yeah, there is a possibility that you may be required to work from home. The training will definitely happen kind of on site. And they are based in the Sydney CBD. So so initially you'll be in the office, which will be good for you to learn the kind of different systems and get to know the team a little bit before you may have to work remotely.
Now, you've got a couple of these positions, and you filled one before, I know from memory. So what why did that particular candidate secure the role? What do you think made them stand out?
I think they had previous experience working in an inbound call center, only a couple years or so, but I think really it was they had a real positive kind of attitude, and could demonstrate kind of really good examples of delivering good customer service and following kind of different procedures and systems and picking up new systems as well with their previous roles. But I think the company culture is really collaborative, and they want someone to kind of to join in with that. So someone that's really positive and open to picking up new systems and getting to know the team and doing the social aspects of the business as well.
Okay, good. And what about salary? I haven't heard you mention salary or benefits.
Salary. So it is kind of about that kind of entry level customer service role. So we're looking at between 50 to 54 plus super. There are other incentives that will be in place as well, so that there will be possibly the ability to earn extra money on top of that. But initially, you need to see it around that kind of 50 to 54 plus super.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So if somebody thinks, I've got this is my job, how do they get in touch with you? What should they do?
Okay, so the roles will be advertised on our company website and the P2P website. So if you apply directly on the link there, then your CV will come through to myself, and I will consider. But if you just want a conversation about the role, then you can call me, and my number is 82709707. But we will put the link and my contact information on the comment section.
Oh, in the comments. Yeah, perfect. I was just going to say, what should they search on? What would be the title they search on when they go to P2P's?
Customer service. I think it's customer service officer, but you'll see Jade Evans. I'll be the contact. So if it's me, that's the one.
Perfect. Fantastic. Rightio. Well, thanks, Jade. Thanks for joining us again. A couple of
no worries. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, I will indeed. Thank you very much. Now let's move to our job hunting tip for the week. And this one, we've got Manda Milling, who's one of the founders of People2People. And Manda has, how should I say this diplomatically, Manda, a particular interest in this, which is this is a job hunting tip for the mature job seeker. I think we were even talking about Countdown, weren't we, before we came online?
Yes, for those in Australia who had their teenage years in the 1970s, like I did. Yes, I'm a proud 58-year-old. But look, it's obvious I'm not 21 anymore. And can I say thank goodness for that? But I can confidently say I have more of my working life behind me than ahead of me. And I know a lot of people viewing and in this circumstance find themselves in that situation. So they're very challenging times. But one advantage as well is that a lot of us can remember the recession of the late 80s, early 90s. This is different, but we have been through those challenging times in our working careers of 29, 30 years ago. This is different because obviously the whole economy just had to shut down very, very quickly. Borders were closed, and so completely out of everyone's responsibility or out of their hands. But so if you do find yourself in the job market after these, and you've had a period of ongoing employment, things have changed even in the last 5 to 10 years. The use of our mobile phones, video interviews were gaining a lot of popularity prior to COVID, but gosh, that's all there is at the moment. It's no face-to-face at all. So you've got to get used to this kind of medium. And I know not everyone is used to that, but you do get used to it pretty quickly. A lot of us have discovered Zoom and discovered using a lot of that just to catch up with friends during the time of the shutdown. So use that to your advantage. One of the biggest things, though, for those of us in my cohort, if I can put it that way, networks. Now, look, that's just a fancy name for your colleagues, contacts, people you have worked with over years and years. Use them to your advantage. Pick up the phone. Do one of these. Look, you know a lot of people. You will be surprised how many people you know if you start to jot down where you've worked, not just your colleagues, the suppliers you dealt with, the clients and customers you dealt with. You've got a wealth of back knowledge that people that have not been in the job market as long as us would have no hope of even securing. So that means, sorry.
It's quite a profound advantage, isn't it? So
Oh,
if you're
enormous.
if you're competing in a job market, most people think that if you're a mature job seeker that it's your disadvantage, but actually you are way in front of somebody if you have a network that you can activate to see and get in front, because most jobs aren't advertised through people like
my word.
My
word. Particularly at the moment, absolutely. You have got to be found. People have got, it's not just a matter of, gosh, how we started our working lives by sending a resume and waiting for a response. No, you've got to be on the front foot. And that means that if you have got a LinkedIn profile, you need to update it. If you don't have one, you need to get one. Update it, change your status, post content, write an observation, join a group, even if it's your university group or a group of people in your industry. They share information. Get an endorsement for your skills. Look, a lot of people just look straight at LinkedIn, look at your profile picture before they even look at a resume. Even with resumes now, look, video link. I mean, they can get all the information they would like on LinkedIn, but use this medium. I know, you do get used to it very quickly. It personalises you. You're not just a few lines on a Word document, which is what all a resume is really. Introduce yourself this way. You've got a wealth of knowledge. You can get up and running really fast. You've got longevity. All of the tick boxes that employees really do love. And being able to,
killing those stereotypes for the mature work well, isn't it?
Well, look, I'm the mature worker. I certainly don't act that way. And, I've got, thank you very much. 35 years experience under my belt. And so I'd like to think I was still pretty employable out there. So look, a lot of us, a lot of us too, and may have the flexibility that and get up and running really fast that employers are actually looking for. But reach out to your network and your contacts and your ex-colleagues, and a lot of them would be your friends as well, I'm sure, that we've all built up over our working lives.
Excellent. All right. Well, so some great tips there, Amanda. So I know that there's a blog post coming just on this. So
is there? That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So if you haven't signed up for our blogs, so on our website, people2people.com.au/blog, you can sign up for them there, and you can look out for these tips. Amanda will list them out in that blog post. So keep an eye on that for sure. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda. So
good luck out there.
What I'd like to do now is actually cover off on it was quite controversial last week, and I was chatting to Hayley from our Queensland office, and one of the things that she was saying is that although there were a couple of roles that were coming through, they were more junior, and that she was people who may have had a partner on job seeker and the like, that then they felt comfortable and secure in just maintaining job seeker rather than undertaking a short-term temp job, and particularly with all the health issues. So what I decided to do then after that was to run a poll, and thank you for all those people who have actually participated and voted in that poll. I've actually put it up on two different social platforms. So I popped it up on LinkedIn and Twitter, and here are the results. So here's the first one. So Jaden, if you could pop that up. This one is from LinkedIn. So the way I phrased it was to say, if you're getting $1,162 a fortnight, which is what you get on JobSeeker, but you had a 3-month temp job and got $1,724 in the hand after tax. By the way, that is level 1 for a private clerk's award. Would you take the 3-month job? And interestingly, 15% said no, 6% said, well, I wish I had that choice, but 80% said yes. So I thought that was quite a profound number. One in 8 people were willing to stay at home. But is it backed up by the results on Twitter? So if we could show the other one, Jaden. So here it is here, and 21% said no. So you could, if you 52 votes on Twitter here. So I know it's not statistically robust, but is it indicative of somewhere between 15 and 20% of Australians would not take a short-term temp job paying the level 1 in the private clerk's award? I don't know, but I thought that was very interesting, and thank you everybody for participating. So what have we got coming up next? Well, we have Facebook Live next week. where it was a special, we won't be covering off the same areas that we normally cover off. Instead, we'll be going through our SNAP survey that was conducted with about 300 job seekers and employers representing about 160,000 employees across Australia, and we're going to go through the results of that survey about what the impact of COVID was on those businesses with Jaden and Hannah from our legal support team here in Sydney next week. So keep an eye out for that. We're just in the final stages of locking down Kate Christie, who, for those who have been following People to People for a while, launched her book last year with us on a breakfast series across Australia and New Zealand. She'll be joining us, I think, mid to late July for the next webinar on that one as well. So there's a lot happening. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me today. We did have one question here I just wanted to cover off, which Myrna said, how is the Perth market going? She's got a lot of experience, but it's a difficult marketplace. Yes, it is. But the one thing I would say about the Perth market, Myrna, is that it never really recovered after the mining boom. It improved remarkably in 2018, but it never got to the same level as the eastern states. And so, although the market has deteriorated in the last 3 or 4 months in WA, it's still a tough marketplace, but it certainly hasn't been hit as hard as the eastern states. I would encourage you to contact Kim Padmore, the director of our Perth office. She can give you more details there, but it is a difficult marketplace and it remains so in WA. So thanks everybody for participating. We're over. We're 1 minute over this week. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week at 12:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube for the next market update. Thanks again.